Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. I hope you are doing fantastic. And today we are going to be talking about a fantastic topic. How do we engage with children to find out their needs to feel safe and supported? On tonight is myself, Peggy Barre. I am a survivor empowerment coach and the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy. And I will pass you to our audience, Nelly and Aisha, to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session. My name is Nelly Kwasunwi. I am a social worker, transformational life coach, and founder of Hand in Hand Community CIC. Over to Aisha.
Hello, everyone. This is my first time being here, an amazing place to be. The name is Aisha Memba, and I'm a support worker and founder of Shine It Foundation.
Okay, so today we are the trio. We are three. We have an additional member on the panel, and this is something that we have always wanted to. We are hoping that in the future we will have more. So the topic for today is, how do we engage with our children to find out their need for safety and support? That is a massive topic, like Peggy has mentioned earlier on. This is a massive topic because our children's safety is very important. And considering the things that are going on in the world today, we really, as parents, we want to make sure our children are safe. But then how do we know? How do we engage with our children to know what they need or their need for safety and support? So that's what we will be talking about today. So Peggy will start off by telling us a bit, what does safety even mean? What does support mean? Because sometimes we just throw these words around, but we don't actually know what they mean.
Absolutely, Nelly. It's very, very important that as parents, we need to actually differentiate between, what safety means and what support means. And yeah, so I did a little bit research or kind of definition. And safety actually means like, you need to be free from harm. And we're talking about our children being free from harm. And safety here again is like general safety. It's not just about our children. It can be safety even for our own self. So is you need to be free from harm, and the harm can be physical, it can be sexual, it can be emotional, as well as neglect. And support, on the other hand, means having trusted, reliable adults who your children can, hang on, your children can lean on, your children can talk to without being scared. Because just by mentioning that, Nelly, I can say, sometimes before our children open their mouth to speak, parents are already there with a response like, ah. And so, yes, so support means let our children be confident that they've got adults that they can freely talk to without being criticized. And it also means, having a predictable and consistent environment. Just like they need to have routine, they need to know what they need to do, have that structured routine that makes them feel like they are being supported in that environment. So, and when we're talking about environment here, we're talking about environment at home, environment in school, wherever they go to, that is the environment. And that environment they need to feel safe, and they need to feel supported in that environment. Yeah. I don't know what I nearly.
Yeah, thank you so much for that definition. At least now we know what safety is. We know what support is. And we know that safety is not just physical safety, because speaking to a lot of parents, they say, but I provide food for my children, I provide a shelter, what else? So physical safety is just one. Emotional safety, psychological safety, mental safety, those are massive. And we will really dig into that today, because a lot of us, when I say a lot of us from the African and Caribbean communities, we don't talk about emotions because it doesn't seem natural for us to talk about emotions. However, we all experience many different emotions in a day. So I know in the previous session, we have talked about how to create that environment for our children to talk about their mental health, or how can we open up for our children to talk about their mental health. So today, we will be touching a bit more on that, because that comprises safety. And if we are able to talk to our children, then we can provide that support to our children. So
Yeah.
if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions, type them in the comment and we will take that further, because like we say this all the time, we are here to learn. It's not like we know too much. No, it's just our little experiences that we are sharing, and we are open to learning as well.
Absolutely, that's so true. I don't know whether Aisha, did you want to say anything? Because before we even dive on that, one thing that we need to first of all mention is that our children have different unique emotions, emotional need, like Nelly have said. Nelly have always bang on emotions, because if we don't get it right as parents when it comes to emotions, especially how to control our own emotions before even knowing how to control or manage the emotion of children, then that is where we get it wrong. That's where things become so challenging. So emotion is so powerful that we need to learn, and it's a skill that we can learn, how to be able to manage our emotions. So I was just about to say that our children have unique emotions, and because they're at different ages, sometimes it is very important to learn very fast how to be able to manage their different emotions, because if not, we cannot take the way we manage emotion for another child to, I don't know, Aisha may be able to add something on along that line. Yeah, Aisha, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I will first start by saying that as humans, we believe that we are able to judge emotions by mere looking at a person or maybe hearing what they're saying or so. We just automatically believe that when somebody is smiling, they're happy. When someone is crying, they're in pains or they're suffering or something. But growing, I've had to see that this is not always the case. There is a little more behind every face, every facial sorry, I'm a little just, yeah. So
Expression.
yes, thank you. Thank you, mommy. So there is always another story to it. And if we go patiently, calmly, we understand that we children always have a way we want to pour out these emotions to our parents. But then we are looking at what is my mom going to say? What is my mom's friends going to say? What am I going to be seen as? What people are looking up to me? We know there are a lot of things you want to live up for. Your dad is around the quarter saying, oh, my child is this, my child is that. You may be dying from within, but you feel like you don't want to speak out because you feel like a failure. You don't want to be a failure. You want to like be that person that you're not. So we hiding a lot of these emotions with smiles, and deep down we're dying, and then it goes further beyond emotions now, and then you've got the psychological and the mental breakdown coming. So thank you for this topic, because it is a very broad and important one that should be talked about. Most people, I recently just left Cameroon, and I would say I knew nothing about mental health until I moved out of Cameroon, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot we're not trashing, that we're not looking into, and we start seeing why certain kids end up the way they end up, and very few of them retrace their steps back. So if we get more on these topics to talk about these things and try to see how to reduce or create this awareness on what emotions are, what safety and support is, maybe it would support young parents coming up, and maybe it's never too late to take the right steps. So this is a great way to go. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just to say, the energy that you are bringing into this topic, you are on fire. And this is
Yeah.
what we really want, because Peggy and myself, we have always talked about what we have learned, what we have experienced, the massive gap within the Afro-Caribbean community, because we know, I said it at the very beginning, that each and every one of us goes through so many different emotions in a day. But because of cultural barriers, stigmas, and taboos, we don't talk about mental health. And sometimes it is not even long ago. People till now, Africans, they still say mental health is the white man's thing.
Yes,
And
they
imagine,
a lot of people
but
do.
no, we all do. And sometimes, like Aisha has said, we question why some children are wayward. And that goes back to, are the parents even aware if the children are safe? How they can support the children? So let's dive deep into it now. So Peggy, over to you. I think we
Yes,
can
so I
start.
think, yeah, so that brings us nicely to the first one. We talk about understanding what safety and support really means for our children, which I've talked about the definition. But one thing that I just wanted to dwell on is, first of all, that environment, like, where we create that safe space for them. And just like Nelly saying, it's especially from Afro-Caribbean parents, all we think sometimes is like, is there food at home? That they've got food at home to eat and all of that. No, but sometimes children need beyond food. They need more than food, right? Again, these are some of the stigmas that we as parents, simple things like we don't even know how to hug our children. We don't even need how to tell them I love you. We don't even know how to kind of listen to them without actually, so these are some of the things that Nelly and I have talked about, being able to provide that environment, that safe environment where they can express themselves. Because when that safe environment is created, that is the only way that we can really allow our children to express themselves without running outside to share their pain with the wrong crowd. Because if they feel like they're being heard outside, they're going to run out.
Go outside.
But if they feel that they're being heard inside, they're going to come in.
Yes.
And as parents, we want to try and make sure that our children, I know sometimes it's hard. And sometimes, just like Aisha said, they get to a certain stage where our children feel like they're the protector, where they don't want to lose their guard, to feel like they're vulnerable. They feel like, no, I can protect my mom, I can protect the person, I can, So they make that, they're putting a facade face where, think like if everything is all right, when reality is not. So, but how can we see beyond that? This is what we're going to be talking about today when we come to the point of, how to communicate. Yeah, how do we see beyond that? Because as parents, sometimes we can be so busy that we don't pick some of those cues that everything is not okay. So, yeah, so maybe I think that safety part, we've talked about it nicely. I don't know whether you want to add something, Nelly, before we move to the second bit, which we're going to be talking about how to create a safe space for honest communication.
I think, yeah, for that safety is massive. It's massive. And I will make a bold statement. I know I could be, I don't know the word to say, but I will make a bold statement. We as parents, we contribute significantly to who our children end up to be. Because our children learn from us. We are our children's first teachers. And just looking back to psychologists, we know of, or they say, children are born like a blank slate. So they learn. And who do they learn from? They learn from our parents. They learn from us, the parents. We learn from our parents. So if a parent, probably out of ignorance, which is mostly the case, or lack of knowledge, they sit quiet in an abusive relationship, they are making a contribution to that child, because that child will see the abuse over and over, probably the mother being beaten or the father being beaten and things like that. Over time, that child will normalize that behavior. And it doesn't only end there. To that child, so much, they have developed so much. We hear of the ego. They will develop what can protect them, because that's the work of the ego, to keep them safe. So that's why I say I will make a bold statement that our children turn up the way they are because of us, to a greater extent.
Can I agree from the domestic abuse point of view? I agree 100% what you've said. And this is why we always say, as a victim, we need to protect our children, right? Rather than the relationship. But let me flick it a little bit on the other side, and I'll say I slightly disagree that our children learn what our children become is purely like it's pure, like it kind of our responsibility as a parent. Let me say, for example, I've got my son. I've been teaching my son, and in fact my children, from a very, very young age, how to take care of their hygiene, how to take care of themselves, clean themselves up, make sure that this, that. Up to this age, I am still talking. Now, if this child gets married tomorrow and is not being able to do this thing, is it going to be my fault that I did not teach these children? So that based on that, I would say sometimes children choose their own path. Even when us parents are banging on the same thing over and over, telling them that, I know Nelly is going to say that, but what I'm trying to say is that I admit that, yes, parents have got a greater role to play on how the children turn out to be, but I disagree, because sometimes parents, we can only go as far as we can. We can do our best, but a child may grow up and decide to choose their path. And if they choose their path, that doesn't mean that we are irresponsible parents.
No, I think I'll just jump in there because probably you misinterpreted me. I was talking specifically around safety. So your son not wanting to wash the dishes, that's not a safety issue. That's not.
But if I must,
so I was talking specifically on the aspect of safety.
Okay. All right.
But if I must jump in with what Mommy Peggy said, I would say, in as much as they may show that they are not doing it today, I promise you that there are these things that when parents impact on children, even when you leave, it would always, if you decide not to do it, is you deciding not to do it. It's not that it's not in your head. If you are put in a position of like life and death to do, you will see they will do it and they will do it well. That is one thing I'm sure of, because even up to date, sometimes when I'm in my bed and I sleep and over to like 10 a.m. and I'm like, there's some guilt in me. It's like, your father will never leave you to sleep at this time and you know it. So I'll be like, God, so it's there, it's already instilled in me. I know that this is what my dad would like me to do. If I decide not to do it, it's my decision, and I know I will take accountability. It's not like, oh, my father did not teach me, my parents did not teach me how to do this. So for that one, I'll tell you, in as much as so far you've done your job, if they don't do it, it's because they know mommy is still there to do it for me.
Exactly.
Once mommy leaves,
because Peggy, you have come up with this same thing and we have talked about it. It's not that they don't know how to do it. They know how to do it.
Yes.
It's because they don't want it to do it the way you want them to do it. But they know how to do it. So you've already played your part.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I agree. I agree. But it was good. It was good to actually make that, because sometimes there are some times where parents will feel like, I've been doing this. Why will it be my fault? But again, it's just that clarity where it's about safety. Nelly was talking about safety.
Yeah. And just to make it clear, this is not blaming anyone, because parents unknowingly, parents generally want to do the best for their children. But because of lack of knowledge, and that is where a lot of the fault comes from lack of knowledge that
Yeah.
children, parents do things the way they do.
Yeah.
Which is why I always say, now we are in a modern age where technology is there. Each and every parent needs to take that responsibility to learn to move forward, learn to make those changes. And regardless of the mistakes that we have all made, let us learn from our mistakes. This is not a blame game for anyone. For me, I would say it can only be a blame when you know that your child is struggling, you know that you can help them, but you choose not to help them because you want to prioritize other things.
Yeah. No, absolutely true. No, that is absolutely true. So I think that brings us nicely to another the second key point where we're talking about how to create a safe space for honest conversation. Because I think, again, just like Nelly said, sometimes we parents may want it done our way. We want things done a particular way, and we communicate that in a certain way. So when we communicate that and we don't give the children that leeway and that freedom and a conducive atmosphere, our children tend to walk on eggshell. And I feel that, like, sometimes, to be honest with you, sometimes when they hear my car outside, that's where they're raving into the kitchen. So I feel like maybe I've kind of created that eggshell moment. But again, for me, what I always make them understand, sometimes when I come and they're in there, you hear he say, "Oh, Mom, I'm on it, don't worry, I'm on it, I'm doing it." So sometimes I always laugh, and I'll tell them that, you know what, it's good you're doing it, but one thing I want to let you to know, that you're doing it for you, not for me. It is for you, it's not for me, because I can come in there and do that thing with that. I've got my hands, nothing stopped me from doing it, but I want you to do it for you, and we'll laugh over it. So this is the thing that and just like Nelly mentioned one time, it's just that we as parents, it's not as if they don't know how to do it. They know how to do it, but they want to do it in their own time. But we parents, we want it to be done in a particular. So this is where we need to create that conducive environment where we can communicate and make sure that. So I don't know, Nelly, whether they want to talk something on that, and then Aisha can add something on that.
Yeah, I just want to add that sometimes we parents, we need to take a step back, because a lot of the times we are projecting the way we were parented. Because like you said, our parents want you to do this and they want you to do this now. So unconsciously, we are thinking, if it were me when I was younger, when my parents said, do this, I'll be sprinting to do that. But now with our children, you tell them, they'll be like, oh yes, Mom, I'll do it later. I'll do it later.
I can't be bothered.
Hours and hours are passing. So sometimes, a lot of the times, we want them, our children, to do things, to respond the way we responded. So then we get frustrated. We get frustrated because they are not doing it immediately. And then what difference will it make if they do it immediately and if they do it after 5 minutes? So that's why I say it's for us parents to learn to take a step back, because that time that we give our children, they are developing their own, how they want to do things. Because like I said, I think it was the last session, I said, I have created an environment where my children can challenge me on things. I don't want my children just to be obedient, because obedient children, when they find the liberty to be themselves, is very dangerous on them, because they haven't learned the skills to manage being on their own, or when they have the liberty. So then they go wild. So yeah, I will not say much on that. Over to you, Aisha.
Okay, me again. I would say there is, to the best of my knowledge, there is a difference between fear and respect. And most parents instill fear instead of respect. And what kids are expected to do is respect their parents, because I believe if we respect our parents, we want to do everything in our powers to ensure that they are happy, they are contented.
Mm-hmm.
But parents, judging from how I grew up and how I've seen, like when you're on the social media today, you see that it's like our parents, especially our mothers, they went to one school, they were taught on how to bring us up. Because you see, everybody is like, this is how my mother used to do, this is how my mother used to do. So I believe when we want to do something, we're not doing it because it's the right thing to be done. We are looking at if Pa catches me, if Ma says this. So then now it's instilling fear in the child. The child is not doing whatever he or she is supposed to do because it's the right thing to do, but because they are scared of their parents. And when a child grows up with fear instead of respect for their parents, it makes it in such a way that in the absence of their parents, they will act however they want to act.
Mm-hmm.
But if they know that they have to be disciplined with respect to their parents, they know that when in a strange place or without the parents, they'll be like, what will my mom say in this situation? If I do this,
Mm.
how would mommy see this? If I do that, how would mommy say this? So it is for us, as Mommy Nelly and Peggy have said, it is for us parents to be able to ensure that we are instilling respect and discipline in our kids rather than fear, allowing them to express their minds, because in as much as we better these children, they grow up with different mindsets, and
Mm-hmm.
you're doing maybe, I would say, 50% or less at home. They go to schools, they go to churches, they meet other people, other persons, and everybody has different upbringings. When everybody is taught differently, they meet your kids, there is a mixture of things, and this child should be free to come back home and say, mommy, this person said this and I did not understand. But if you instead fear in a child, this child will be like, very soon I'll go open my mouth now, my father will just give me a slap. And they will now keep this in them before it starts growing, creating roots, and then they're used to not talking to you, because by the time they open your mouth, only your facial expression, it just changes everything, and they're like, you know what, I'm not talking. If they make errors, there is a way, I believe, to discipline a child without stopping the child from even expressing. Give that child an opportunity to explain what made you do this, what made you think you could do this. Allow, like, let kids feel free that I know that even if my mom will shout at me, she'll listen to me first, and
Mm-hmm.
then she points out what went wrong. Because
Mm-hmm.
most of the time parents just I'm sorry to all the parents here, but that is it. We just go, we shout, shout, shout. You don't even listen to the child. You don't point out. She does at the time. At that time, the child doesn't even see what they did wrong. They just
Mm-hmm.
that mommy is shouting at me because of this. Whereas if
Mm-hmm.
it's a child who did not wash the plates, and then maybe you've come now, the plates are all dry and sticky, and then you're trying to explain to this child that this is okay, the plates are outside, flies have been on the plates, it's not safe, and all of that. You explaining that to the child makes this child understand. The next time she leaves plates out there, will be that, okay, oh, when these plates are out here, flies are going to sit on it. It is not safe for us to consume in this same plates again. So let me just wash them and get them out of here. It will not be let me just wait. Mama is coming at 10 o'clock. And at 9:30 or 9:45, I'm going to wash the plates. So I'm washing the
Mm-hmm.
plates now because Mama is coming back, not because it is supposed to be washed. So I will really appreciate if we parents we look at we try to differentiate between fear, respect, and discipline while treating our kids.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Aisha.
That is
That's
so
really
true.
powerful. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really powerful. I think when you were speaking, what came to mind was communication. And this is something Peggy and myself, we have talked about. Afro-Caribbean parents, the way we communicate, we just say, do this, full stop. And then when children don't do it because they don't understand, we're like, you are naughty. We punish the children. But see the way Aisha has explained, that's just the same way we have been explaining that parents need to communicate with we need to communicate with our children, explain to them why. And like the
Mhm.
dishes Aisha has said, explain to them that flies settling on the plates, it's not good. That one will give a reason to a child to wash the dishes straight away. But if you just
Mhm.
come and say, you must wash these dishes now, the child might like, and then
Yeah.
they'll not wash it. So yeah, thank you for that, Aisha.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is so true. And when you were talking, Aisha, the other day, we always like to kind of bring back. The other day, there's one thing I've been asking them to do. I like to air my house. When I get up in the morning, whether it's winter, whether it's raining or it's sunny, I must open my windows. And they don't understand why I open my windows. And when they don't open theirs, of course, you can tell that because you can tell the situation of the room. And I called them the other day. I think we were having a prayer session, but before we had the prayer, I said, "Oh, let me explain something." And then I tried to bring, I know I did chemistry. I was trying to say, you know what, maybe I did chemistry and physics, but maybe I'm not good. But let me just explain. You people, if I make mistake, correct me. And I said, when you breathe in, I said, what do you breathe in? They said oxygen. I said, what do you breathe out? They said carbon dioxide. I said, okay, when you sleep in the night, 12 hours, you're breathing out carbon dioxide. And then when you get up in the morning, what happens with that carbon dioxide that they said it stays in the room? I said, is it good for your health? Immediately my son said, oh, mom, you're right.
That's it. Yeah.
so so what you said, Aisha, is really true, because maybe I have been banging on opening the window, but I've never really explained to them why it is needed or is important to open that window, because it's also good for their health, so open the window so that that carbon dioxide can go out so they can breathe in fresh air. So I think when I explained that, the next day he opened his window. So at least, so you could tell that at least that worked. So yes, so communication is very important. And like I say, as parents, like Nelly said, we've said it before and over, we as parents, we are learning, because sometimes we're on this fast lane as parents where we just want to do things the way our own parents brought us. And our generation today, Aisha will agree with me, the generation today, there is something that is missing. Do you know about, there's something we call common sense? Nelly and I will understand what it's called common sense. For the younger generation today, it's like they're on this lane where they don't want to turn left or right.
Yes.
They just like focus straight, and sometimes it is difficult. It is very, very difficult. And I feel like, but as parents, we just have to kind of understand that these children, this is their generation, this is how they reason, this is the lane, the fast lane that they're going. So we as parents, we just need to make sure that at least we slow down and understand them and explain to the best of our knowledge, so that at least we can be on the same page. That is how the way we communicate, so that at least we can be able to understand each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to add on that point, we need to allow for silence, because so much goes on when we observe silence. But though, unfortunately, because the world is so noisy now, people are so scared of silence. Sometimes a child just wants to be quiet. They don't want to speak. It's not that anything is bothering them. Sometimes it's their way of processing the so much information. And especially if you don't really understand how the child's mind is working, you just want to keep talking, keep talking. And when the child gets too much, they will shut down.
Shut down.
They won't want to talk, they'll shut down, because they've got too much information and they are struggling to process that. I am speaking from an example because I am an introvert. And when I was younger, for so many years, I could count the words that I said per day. That's how limited I was. It's not that I was bothered about anything. It's just that for me, I found that there was a lot of effort in speaking. And good a thing, it seems as if my parents understood, because they would just let me be doing my things. I would go and I could stay in the in the garden, like looking all the fruits and trees and whatever, and they'll just leave me. So if we can, as parents, just try to observe silence, because when a child is silent, it doesn't mean that that child is angry, though it is easy to just conclude that that child is angry. But no, sometimes they just need that quiet space to process whatever is going on in their head. And as parents, we need to practice that ourselves, because if we struggle to observe silence, we will find it really hard to let our children observe their silence as well.
Yeah. No, that is so powerful, Nelly. And I feel that, like you said, the world is too noisy. It's too noisy in such a way that, and not just noisy in the fact that we've got too many things that again are bothering us, and sometimes we tend to transfer some of these things on the children. And this is why when I speak to most of my women in the community, when I do workshop, I always say, you know what, there's sometimes that we don't have to offload any our burdens on the children. Children, they've got their own things that they're dealing with. They go to school, the challenges that they face in school, just by the time that they left the house to school, we were not there with them. You know, they may have gone through challenges that maybe they managed it, they went to school, came back. Sometimes it's about just letting them be. And this is something that I say is a skill that I'm also beginning to learn, that, you know what, when they come home, immediately they're coming home, you want to make sure that let them feel home. Like, out there is chaotic, but home is safe. Home is where they can run into. But we as parents, we don't want to make it in such a way that immediately as they're coming in, it's like, whoa. No. When we make like that, we're driving them out. They're going to start hanging on the street. They're going to start hanging where they feel like it's safe. So I think Nelly and I have talked about this in our previous session about making home homely for our children. And home is not about a structure. Home is not about the big houses, the whatever. No. Whatever the home is, whatever house you've got, even if it's a 1-bedroom house, make it homely, make it home for our children, so that it can be their place of safety where they can run into. And when they can run into, they'll be able to feel free to communicate, to express how they feel, express their emotion to you. And then we as parents, be ready to listen without judging. Listen without judging, because that's one aspect that we as parents need to hold, no matter how it's hurting you inside. Because again, sometimes they may be saying something, you feel like, oh, you can, like, I already told you, I didn't. No, yes, you may be right, but just hold it in, and listen to.
I think Peggy, that just goes nicely to the next point: the power of listening beyond words.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So just adding to what Peggy has said, besides actively listening, we also need to observe non-verbal cues, because a child might be saying, like Aisha talked about fear, a child might be scared and they'll be saying, no, no. But then the head is doing something else. The head cannot be nodding, but the mouth is saying no. So which one will you go for? So if as parents, or if we know that non-verbals don't lie, you will go for the nodding of the head and not what is coming out from the mouth. And that is part of communication, which we really need to invest in communication skills.
That is so true. Me myself, I think it's something that we need to. I don't know, Aisha, do you want to have something to say? Because I feel that non-verbal communication is a skill that most parents haven't mastered. We haven't.
Yeah.
Because it's something that it cannot lie. But if we learn it, I think we'll be able to understand our children more. You know, so yeah. So I don't know, Aisha?
Yeah, talking about communication, if we must understand that communication, first of all, is how the message is being passed, and it's not necessarily talking or maybe sending messages and all of that. Communication, like we have all said, our body gestures. That is why it is always important when someone is passing on an instruction, you look at the person. Because if I'm just I say, okay, Nelly, go there. Let me not do the gestures. Nelly, go there and get me a bowl. If you're not looking at me, you will not know where the there is. But if I say, Nelly, go there, I'm pointing to my right, you know I'm sending you to the right. So you'll be able to go to the right. So body language is very, very important in communication, because you might be talking to your child even, and then you see maybe the facial expression. She's saying yes, as Nelly has said, she's saying yes, but she's not probably like you don't see the face saying yes, you don't see the body saying yes. And aside from even communication alone, maybe when your child goes out and come out, only the way maybe your child walks, maybe the way they go about the usual things, you should be, as a parent, this is no escape, sorry, you should be able to notice that there is something different from it, and you act upon as soon as you can. If you know your child likes putting on heels and someday she goes on to sneakers, what's happening? Why did you change the sneaker? That is already a communication. But because we don't admit that that is a form of communication, we let it slip, and then we like just, oh, maybe it's just no. Do not just wave it by and say maybe it's just a change of mind. Something prompted that change to come into place. If you know this child eats a lot and sometimes just stops eating, but it doesn't necessarily need to be for a negative reason, but there is always a reason. So when we look at communication, we should not look at maybe only the verbal method of communication, but body language, body gestures, day-to-day happenings, changes on our lives. I'm used to seeing my child's room very messy. I get in there someday and it's in order. Oh God, what's happening? There is something. And by the time you're able to let the child understand that you've understood them to the point where they don't need to speak for you to know when there are changes, they'll feel like, you know what, there's nothing again I can hide from mom. I just need to talk to mom. Okay. It opens up what we're all about now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so true, Aisha, and that resonates a lot. It resonates a lot, especially when I'll share one story. There was one time my son, I think I know there's one of one of his female friends. She had a birthday. I knew that this lady had a birthday. And then my son went out, came back in, and he had bought a gift, but he hid it when he was coming in. He saw me, and and I was like, hiding behind. He said, Mom, I don't want you to see it. I said, why? I said, I know already. I know whom you bought it for someone, and I know. And then I said, but I like her. And then he just opened it up, and then started showing me, oh, Mom, look at what I bought for her. Do you like it? I said,
And at that point now you feel more comfortable to talk to you about anything and be like, Mom, I was talking to this person and this is what she said. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then you just without any formal arrangement of saying, oh, come and sit down, let's talk about this person, or let's talk about this. You're able to break the barrier between you and him, talking about his female acquaintances and all of that. So that is very, very important. It might look like I would say informal, or maybe just anyhow kind of behavior, but I promise you, our generation will believe a lot in anyhow, because once you make it too formal, we're like, there is already the fear. What is it all about? If I seated here now and then anybody just, maybe my phone rings and my mom will just call Aisha, and my heart first of all caught, but I just can't say, dear, there's a way. I'll be willing to talk to you freely and happily, because I know, yes, I'm having that mutual communication. I'm not talking to somebody who is superior or who is here to dominate me or something.
Yeah. That is so true. The anyhow communication, that's the best. Because even like in our profession as social workers, the best time that we really get information from children is in the car. When the children are sat at the back and you are driving, all sorts of things are coming out.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that is a anyhow kind of conversation because people feel relaxed and then they're just things are just coming that probably they didn't even plan. If it's a formal setting, I mean, yes, there might be instances where you have like a formal communication with your children, but mostly informal, just anyhow conversation. You will make the maximum out of that anyhow conversation.
Absolutely. And that brings us nicely with we're talking about helping children feel seen, heard, and valued. And I think all what we've been talking about, it ties nicely to that.
Yeah.
Firstly, we, especially in single parenting home, if I put it, is that a right word? In single parenthood, with single parenthood, we don't know, especially if that parent is coming from a environment where there was domestic abuse and they found a place where they call home. One thing that we always say to you ladies is that we want to, first of all, build that connection between us and the children. Because where those children came from, what they saw is actually changed their perspective about relationship. And so it is very important that we, being in that home, is about trying to make sure that let them understand that this is how a relationship is. By how do I relate with them? Because through us, they can see how a relationship can be. Whether a relationship, whoever, if they want to go out there, have, their own relationship, what is it that they're seeing in us? Are they seeing love, or are they seeing hatred, or are they seeing anger, or what are they seeing? So this is why it's always important that us as parents, we need to first of all build a nurturing environment where they can feel that, that means this is what relationship can be. This is what home can be. This is the ideal a partner that I'm looking for, in a relationship. Let them see that role model in us, So in that way, we can actually we can actually make them feel seen. For example, kind of validate their emotions, kind of validate how they feel, validate whatever thing they're saying to us. Let us make them important. In that way, we know that we're not ignoring. I know sometimes as parents we can be busy, but it's about finding that little time to make sure that yes, they are being seen. We're not just neglecting. They're being seen. So I don't know, Nelly or
I
Aisha,
think,
want to add something?
yeah, I just want to add something on that, helping children to feel seen. I have been watching some videos on social media, and it's been really, really interesting to me. I mean, there are two different ones. So one is the fathers who have daughters, and it's been the daughters there, like babies, like 2 years old, and they are doing makeup on the fathers. Imagine a 2-year-old putting makeup on the father. You can imagine how how it comes out. They would take like lipstick and put on the cheek. And so it's just awful. But what really impressed me was the dad was just there, just letting the child do what they want to do, and they will be praising their children that this is so nice. And sometimes some of the children will go and take their mother's heels and give the father and say the fathers are the queens or the princesses and things like that. So it's been really funny. And then another one, this one, both of them are with fathers. So another one is the fathers will do like a dress up and then dress up the baby as well. And when the mother is coming back home, they just stand there with both of them, the father and the child. They are all dressed up, in their costumes, which like adults now, we put on a mask.
Yeah.
And why I like things like that is because the ego is not there. Not that, I mean, the people have dealt with the ego. So those masks, they've taken off the mask and just be, because everyone, no matter your age, you just want to be a child at some point because you have suppressed that child, that
Yeah.
inner child. So when you can let yourself just to play even in the mud, run under the rain, and think that is just you expressing yourself. And when we support our children just to be themselves, we are helping them to feel seen, because they might be doing certain things, and we, because of the mask that we are putting on, we feel that, oh no, that's too silly. You don't have to do that. And then we are stopping that child, and they will feel that they are not seen, they are not listened to, because at that time, that might be something that they really want to do. And at that point, if we stop the child might never want to do that again. Because if
That's
they
so true.
even think of it, that idea will come to mind that, oh, they wanted to do it, and they were stopped.
Yes, yes, that is very true. And talking from a point of view of a child, I would say that is very true, because when we kids, we come up to our parents, or maybe we think we like to do something. I have always believed and say that.
Something.
Sorry.
No.
Oh, okay. I've always believed and I said that for someone to strive in something, they should like this thing. It should be from within, be it education, be it hobbies, be it day-to-day lives, jobs. Yes, it is true that life situation doesn't always give us what we like, but then we find something in that situation to like. Okay. With a child, when a child comes up to his parents, and or maybe a parent will see that, I will use an example with dancing or music. The way African parents have that mentality, dancing, music, maybe drawing or so. No, drawing is even, they even respect a little bit. But you see, dancing and music is like, you're the worst child on earth. And the way they sweep it off, modeling as well. Yes, they all have, there is nothing on this earth, I would say, that doesn't have a negative and positive side. They both do. How you maneuver your way around these things, that determines what is going to be the outcome. But the way parents sweep this away when a child brings up or shows interest in certain things is what is the issue. I will say again, it's taking us back to communication. If a child comes to tell you that, me, I want to be a model tomorrow, a parent should not just be, okay, you cannot be a model. I detest models. You will be this, you will be this. No. Have a chat with this child. Understand what pushed this child to the point where they want to be a model. Try to understand what is behind this decision. And then if you think that it is not, because it's only your thoughts, you don't know. A lot of people have made it by being models. And that is why this child has seen that it is, I want to be a model. She didn't come to say, I want to be a thief, because she sees thieves being beaten up and locked up every day. She's come to say, I want to be a model, because we have people who have succeeded in being models. So try to explain to this child and say, okay, if you want to be a model, this is what it entails. Tell them what it entails, what could be the possible outcome, what could be the negative, the pros and cons. Tell them, give them everything, and let that child make the decision. When you explain to a child as detailed as much as you can, while in that friendly way, making the child not to feel like you're trying to discourage he or she, but you're trying to allow the child understand whatever they are wanting to put themselves into. They will have that time to sit, no pressure from the parents. You just sit and think about it. Think about it. Think, maybe there is always a lever. My boss will say, when you want, because I work with young adults, so my boss will say, when you want them to do something, there is always a lever. So maybe that child once told you that, I want to, mommy, I want to be a doctor so that I will help. And you say, okay, now you wanting to be a model, it's not bad though. But what time will you be doing the modeling? What time will you go to nursing school? What time will you do? You have to give up one. No, maybe you give up your doctorship that you wanted to be, and then this child will think, which one do I want? And then you make the decision freely. But you have somehow worked around it. And again, most things we parents always do is trying to make decisions without involving the child. Like a child will be sat somewhere, will just come back and hear that you are going to the school, you are doing this, you are doing that. Like there is no what do you want to do in life? How do you want to go about this? What we just grow up knowing that whatever your parents say. So sometimes when the child even thinks of something or things that maybe they could do well in something, or they have a proposition to bring up, they kill it because they just know, my mom is just going to say no, no, my dad is going to say no. And that is making our child not feel seen and heard. And the next thing is they will go to people who want to listen to them. They will go outside there, because by the time praise, people who want to pray on them will see that, okay, they are not welcome at home. They will claim to want to welcome this child, listen to the child, and claim to make the child's dream come true. And not all the time does it do they always end well. So we should create that atmosphere of making the child actively involved in decisions that concern them, even if as little as what they will eat, what will be cooked in the house that day, what dress will they want to wear. Even if you know their decision or their proposal doesn't count, just make them feel important. Like, oh, what do you think we should cook today? In your mind, you know you want to cook beans, and the child is coming, I want to eat rice, and say, we ate rice the other day. Okay, let me tell you this. If we cook beans today, on Sunday, we'll cook rice. Done. A child will feel like, okay, mom has even heard me and she's giving me reasons why we cannot cook rice today. But if a child just goes and come out today beans, tomorrow conchav, after tomorrow tunkuni, and all of that, the child doesn't feel like she has an opportunity to maybe give out one or two. So little things like that makes it easier for us to work with our children. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aisha. You know, you've talked about communication. Communication is so massive. And what you've just explained goes back to my initial bold statement that I made.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that is so true. And it's always good to at least hear from the perspective of the child, because again, one thing caught me there is the one that we don't ask them even simple things like food. Because trust me, sometimes it's just easy. Just go to the shop, buy whatever thing you buy, come and cook. And no wonder you cook it and then they will not eat it. It's because you did not ask their opinion. You did
Exactly.
consult with them.
You did what you wanted to do, so eat your food.
So this is why these are all learning curves, and like I say, it's this. Sometimes we may laugh over these things, but it's very, very important, because again, as parents, we want to make sure that we're giving the best that we can for our children, and that our children also understand us, so that in that way we can actually they can become responsible adults, with our support. So I think that brings us nicely to, we've covered all the key topics that we've been looking at. We've talked about, safety and support, what safety means. We've talked about the definition of safety and the definition of support. We've talked about how we can, communicate, make the home, conducive for communication. We've talked about making sure we look after non-verbal cues, because we should not only focus on the verbal, but non-verbal, because it's very important. We've talked about how to, did I miss anything? How to listen beyond words. Again, we've talked about that. And we've talked about how to make our children feel seen and heard, which is very important. So I think, if I missed anything, did I miss anything?
I think just to add, you've not missed anything. We've talked about all of those points. I think communication, the take home that for me, I would really stress on for parents is communication. Just try to have an audit of your communication. How do you communicate with yourself? How do you communicate with your children? How do you communicate? Just ask yourself, how do you communicate? How effective is your current method of communication? What do you need to do to improve on your communication? So have an audit. Probably this will be an end of year activity to audit. So you get into the new year all fresh up, and you know the actions that you need to take to improve on your communication, to further improve on your relationship with your children, your family, your friends, your community.
Absolutely. That is so true, Nelly. And I think that again, we're getting to the end of the year. You just mentioned something which I think is a bold step that parents can take. I always say, why cannot what we can ask our children to give us feedback of the year. How, throughout this year, how did I do as a parent? Just give me a feedback. And I always say sometimes it can be scary to hear what pet children are going to say, but maybe that is another way of you to kind of understand how they're feeling, so that next year 2026 you can become a better parent based on the feedback that they've given you. So maybe we can hint that in our next topic, or in our next session again, because I think it's a good exercise. Thinking about it, I think I need to do it, so that at least next year I can tone down a little bit.
But
So over to you, Aisha.
if I must say, before any parent goes out there to do that, I will advise you try to introduce the anyhow method of communication with your kids, because if you don't do that, I promise you they'll tell you lies or may not even do it. Just let them know that you can just come one day like that and gist with them, like just discuss what happened in school. Just feel free, and then listen and do not judge. Even if the motherly instinct in you is like, press this one's neck, just hold your hand and like do like that, and then just let the child feel like I've won over mommy today, and then you get what you're looking for and work with what you're looking for. Let's work. Let's try as much as possible to instill respect and discipline on our kids, and reduce, if not eliminate, fear amongst our kids. In the relationship, the parents-children relationship, and work on our communication, and that's it.
Yeah,
over to you, Nelly, if you want to close it.
I just want to say thank you so much. It's been another very productive session.
Very.
And there's so much that I need to reflect on from this session today. So I just want to thank you, panel members, 3 of us today. So we look forward to another session in 2 weeks. We will let you know the topic, the panel members that will be on it. It is certain that Peggy and myself will be there, but we will have additional, we will have probably the same trio. We will let you know. So we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And please, if you are watching after, put your comments. Peggy and myself will always read your comments, because here we share our experiences. They are raw, and we are sharing for you to learn. We are not imposing anything. You don't need to take anything that we talk about. It's just, it worked for us. It might not work for you, but it might be an opportunity for you to try something else. But for us, we like to hear from you. We are here to learn, and share with us, and we will take it. So thank you so much. Have a nice weekend, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, just looking out for my screen to end the
live.
Are we off?
It still says streaming.
The live stream is not.
It still says streaming.
No, just give me a minute, because I've lost it here.
We should keep seeing us beautiful faces.
So just keep talking. I don't know what's going on here.
Maybe he doesn't want us to end it. Maybe he's saying that I don't want you guys to go today.